Building a healthy mindset. Ladies and gentlemen, the mind is the master power that molds and makes. What you hold in your thoughts, you shape in your world. A healthy mindset is not a luxury. It is the very foundation upon which every victory, every breakthrough, and every legacy is built. You were not born to be a prisoner of fear, doubt, or limitation. You were born to think, deliberately, powerfully, and creatively. And with the right mindset, you can transform your circumstances, command your destiny, and rise to heights you've only dared to imagine. Today, I will give you the blueprint, not in vague theories, but in timeless principles forged by the fire of human achievement. 8 unbreakable truths that, if lived, will unlock the power of a healthy, unstoppable mind. Thoughts are seeds. Plant only what you want to harvest. Look around you. Everything you see, the buildings, the machines, the inventions, the fortunes, was once just a thought in the mind of a man or woman. That thought, invisible and intangible, became real because someone had the audacity to believe in it, nurture it, and act upon it. The truth is this: all things begin in the mind. The thoughts you think today are the blueprint of your life tomorrow. Your mind is a fertile field. It will grow whatever is planted in it, whether weeds or wheat. It does not discriminate. It does not judge. It simply obeys. Plant anger, and you will harvest turmoil. Plant self. Doubt and failure will flourish. But plant courage, belief, and determination, and your life will bear the fruit of greatness. The soil is always working. What matters is the seed. This is not philosophy. This is law. Just as gravity pulls an apple from the tree to the ground, your dominant thoughts attract conditions, people, and circumstances in harmony with themselves. You cannot think defeat and expect victory. You cannot dwell in lack and expect abundance. That is like planting poison ivy and expecting a rose garden. Consider the farmer. He prepares his field, selects his seeds with care, and nurtures them daily, knowing the harvest will come. He does not plant in fear. He does not say, "I hope something grows." He understands the principle: what is planted will grow. It is inevitable, and yet, how many people scatter seeds of fear, envy, and limitation throughout their day, then wonder why their lives are overrun with thorns. The most successful men and women in history learned early that the most powerful asset they possess is the ability to choose their thoughts. They refused to give mental space to fear, doubt, or complaint. Instead, they planted only what they wanted to reap. They fed their mind's faith. They watered it with repetition. They protected it from negativity, and they persisted until their thoughts became reality. You are no different. Within you lies the same power. The question is, what are you planting? When you wake in the morning, do you immediately feed your mind with purpose, gratitude, and intention? Or do you allow the world to pour in worry, distraction, and noise? You cannot harvest peace from a mind soaked in chaos. A healthy mindset begins with discipline over thought, and this discipline starts with awareness. Monitor your thinking. Stop giving your energy to what you do not want. If you catch yourself focusing on problems, redirect to possibilities. If you find yourself judging others, shift to understanding. Each time you do this, you are choosing a higher seed. Do not underestimate the power of repetition. A single thought repeated becomes belief. Belief repeated becomes conviction. Conviction fuels behavior, and behavior, sustained over time, shapes destiny. The world is not punishing you. It is mirroring what you plant most often in your mind. Most people do not fail from lack of effort. They fail from lack of conscious thought. They let life plant their seeds for them. The news, the critics, the memories of past defeats. They hand over the field to the wild. But you, if you are to build a powerful and healthy mindset, must become the gardener of your mind. You must ask yourself daily, what am I planting? Is this thought worthy of growing into a reality? Is it strengthening me or weakening me? Because one thing is certain, the harvest is coming. Decide who you are, and be unshakable in that decision. The most powerful moment in a person's life is not when they are praised by others or when fortune smiles upon them. It is the moment they look within and make an unshakable decision about who they are. Identity is the root of all achievement. It precedes action, sustains perseverance, and fuels destiny. Before greatness manifests outwardly, it must be declared inwardly. You must understand this. Indecision is the silent killer of dreams. A person who does not know who they are will be tossed about by the opinions of others, the setbacks of life, and the temptations of comfort. But a person who has decided, truly decided, who they are, becomes immovable. Like a mountain in a storm, they may be struck, but they do not fall. Many wander through life wearing borrowed identities. They define themselves by titles, circumstances, or the approval of others. But these are illusions, fragile and fleeting. A healthy mindset is built not on what others call you, but on what you call yourself. It begins when you declare, with complete certainty, "This is who I am, and this is what I stand for." This decision is not made lightly. It is made with the full awareness that once you decide, life will test you. It will throw challenges your way not to break you, but to prove whether your decision was mere wishful thinking or absolute conviction. And here lies the truth. Only those who refuse to negotiate with their identity rise above those tests. You must become your own authority. Do not wait for permission to believe in yourself. Do not look to others to validate your worth. Decide now what kind of man or woman you will be. Will you be disciplined or distracted? Will you be resilient or fragile? Will you be a creator or a complainer? The decision is yours, and the consequences are inescapable. Once you decide who you are, the world begins to organize around your belief. People will sense your certainty. Opportunities will gravitate toward your clarity. The obstacles that once seemed insurmountable will appear smaller in the light of your unyielding self-definition. Why? Because the greatest force in human behavior is the desire to remain consistent with who we believe we are. If you see yourself as a failure, your actions will unconsciously sabotage success. If you see yourself as weak, you will shrink from challenge. But if you see yourself as powerful, driven, and worthy, your behavior will align to match. The inner image always reflects in the outer reality. A healthy mind does not guess who it is. It knows. This is not arrogance. This is ownership. You are not waiting to become someone. You are recognizing the greatness already within you and commanding it into action. Decide that you are a warrior of purpose, a thinker of clarity, a builder of legacy. And then walk through the world as if that truth cannot be shaken, because it cannot unless you allow it. Each morning remind yourself, "I have already decided." When doubt whispers, you say, "I have already decided." When failure strikes, say again, "I have already decided." Let this be your shield against distraction and discouragement. Decisions made in weakness fade, but decisions made in identity endure storms. So I ask you now, not softly, but with fire, who are you? Not who were you told to be, not who you were yesterday, but today, with full power of thought and choice. Who do you decide to be? Burn the boats, commit without retreat. There comes a time in every person's life when they must make a choice that defines the course of everything that follows. Not a half-hearted choice, not a tentative step, but a total, irreversible commitment. In that moment, hesitation must die and resolve must rise. If you are to build a healthy and powerful mindset, you must learn this principle well: burn the boats. History is filled with those who achieved the impossible not because they had greater talent or luck, but because they eliminated every escape route. They made quitting impossible. They committed with such intensity that success became the only acceptable outcome. They had no rear view mirror, no safety net, no fallback plan. Their minds were forced to move forward or perish. When you leave an option open, your mind will retreat to it in times of difficulty. It is human nature to choose comfort over growth, certainty over risk. But the great ones, the builders, the visionaries, the leaders, they sever the option to turn back. They put themselves in positions where they must win, and in doing so, they awaken powers that remain dormant in the presence of doubt. Think of it like this: when the mind knows there is an exit door, it will always look for it. But when there is no door, when the only path is through the fire, something changes, the mind adapts, it becomes inventive. Fierce, creative, focused, suddenly what once seemed impossible becomes not just probable, but inevitable. Most people never tap into their true potential because they dabble. They try things instead of committing. But trying is not commitment. It is fear in disguise. It says, I'll do it, unless it gets hard. But commitment says, I'll do it no matter what. And that kind of thinking is what separates those who merely start from those who finish. A healthy mindset cannot coexist with indecision. It thrives on clarity. It draws power from total alignment, thought, word, and action moving as one. When you commit without retreat, your entire being becomes unified in pursuit of a single outcome. That unity creates momentum, and momentum creates miracles. Burning the boats is not reckless. It is liberating. It frees you from the burden of guessing. It cuts off the voices of doubt that ask, what if this doesn't work? Because now it must work. The only question left is, how? And that shift in focus, from whether to how, is the difference between a stalled dream and a living reality. Look at your life. Where have you left boats unburned? Where are you still holding on to backup plans, to just-in-case mentalities, to the illusions of safety? Understand this: every maybe you cling to weakens your resolve. Every escape hatch you keep open leaks energy from your mission. You cannot conquer what you're still negotiating with. Decide what you want. Cut off all other possibilities, and throw your whole self into the pursuit, not casually, not conditionally, but entirely. The world respects those who move with certainty. It yields to the mind that will not be turned back. Doors open, allies appear, and strength multiplies, not because of magic, but because of commitment. So if you truly seek to build a mind of power, a will of steel, a life of impact, then light the fire, watch the old bridges burn, feel the fear and walk anyway. The past is gone, the retreat is gone. All that remains is forward. Control your inner dialogue. The most important conversation you will ever have is the one you have with yourself. It is constant, it is silent, and it is powerful beyond measure. Your inner dialogue, those invisible words echoing through your mind, will either lift you toward greatness or drag you into defeat. Control it, or it will control you. You see, the human mind is always listening. It absorbs every word you whisper to yourself, especially in moments of doubt, stress, and failure. If you speak limitation, your subconscious believes it. If you repeat weakness, your actions will follow. And over time, these private whispers form your public reality. Thought by thought, sentence by sentence, you are scripting your destiny. A healthy mindset cannot be built on negative self-talk. You cannot speak failure and expect to live success. You cannot call yourself broken and expect to function whole. Words are not just sounds, they are commands. Each one either programs your mind for victory or for surrender. Therefore, speak with intention. Speak with power. Speak as if your words are writing your future, because they are. What most people don't realize is that their inner dialogue is inherited. They are replaying the voices of parents, teachers, critics, and failures, voices that are not even their own. They carry shame that was planted, not chosen. They repeat doubts they heard decades ago, still giving them authority. But the mind does not know the difference between truth and repetition. It believes whatever you say most often. So the question is, what are you saying to yourself? Do you call yourself strong, capable, worthy? Or do you whisper, I can't, I'm not enough, it never works for me? Your brain records it. your spirit responds to it, and your behavior becomes a mirror of it. If you want a new life, you must start with new words. Train your inner voice like you would train a warrior. Correct it when it speaks weakness. Replace lies with truth. Do not allow lazy language to sabotage your effort. If you wouldn't tolerate someone else speaking to you with cruelty and doubt, why tolerate it from your own mind? Raise the standard. Speak to yourself like a champion. This doesn't mean lying to yourself. It means aligning with your potential, not your fear. Speak the truth of your capability, not the illusion of your limitations. Say, I can figure this out. Say, I've handled worse before. Say, I was built for this. Every time you do, you feed the mind with strength, and the mind, when fed properly, becomes invincible. Repetition is the key. You can't speak confidence once and expect permanent change. Just as water shapes stone through constant contact, your new self-talk must be relentless. Say it when you wake, say it when you fall, say it until your mind no longer questions it. What you repeat, you become. Most people lose the battle in their minds before they ever step onto the field of life. They've already accepted defeat in their own heads, but you, if you are to build a healthy mindset, must fight that battle daily, win it in your words, and you will win it in your world. So now I ask you, what are you telling yourself? What stories are looping on repeat in the theater of your mind? Because whether you rise or fall, whether you grow or stay stuck, it won't begin with a choice. It will begin with a sentence. Surround yourself with growth, not gossip. A mind cannot grow in a garden of weeds. Just as fertile soil can be choked by thorns, so too can your potential be stifled by the company you keep. If you are to build a healthy, unbreakable mindset, you must become ruthlessly intentional about the environment you allow around your thoughts. Growth is fragile in its early stages. It must be protected from pollution. Every person you interact with is either a mirror of your possibility or an anchor to your past. They are either watering your dreams or draining your energy. There is no neutrality. You must evaluate your circle not by comfort, but by contribution. Do they challenge you to rise or comfort you in staying small? Gossip, complaint, and negativity are not casual habits. They are mental poisons. They rot the foundations of ambition. They create a culture of blame and excuse. They encourage shallow thinking, discourage ownership, and reward mediocrity. Worse yet, they're contagious. You may think you're only listening, but your subconscious is learning to speak their language. A healthy mindset cannot thrive where criticism is currency and small thinking is celebrated. You must separate yourself from conversations that shrink your vision. Even if the voices are familiar, even if they come from those you love, if they do not respect your growth, you must protect your destiny above their comfort. Surround yourself with builders. Find those who speak in possibilities, not problems. Keep company with the disciplined, the driven, the dreamers. These people do not talk about others. They talk about ideas, solutions, missions. Their presence doesn't drain you. It sharpens you. They challenge your excuses not because they don't care, but because they care too much to watch you settle. You become the emotional and mental average of the people you are closest to. If you walk with those who constantly complain, eventually you will complain. If you walk with those who set goals and pursue them with passion, you will be lifted to that level. Energy is transferable. Choose wisely who you receive it from. This does not mean arrogance. This means alignment. It means deciding that your purpose is too important to be diluted by small talk and end thinking. You can love people without letting them lead your mind. You can respect them without taking their advice. And sometimes the greatest act of self-respect is walking away from what no longer serves you. The mind is like a sponge. It soaks in the words, attitudes, and expectations around it. If you are constantly surrounded by fear, drama, and doubt, do not be surprised when your own thoughts begin to echo the same. But if you place yourself in rooms where courage is spoken, where discipline is normal, where excellence is expected. You will begin to think at a higher frequency. Seek mentors, not mirrors. A mentor sees your potential and speaks to your future, not your comfort zone. They will offend your laziness. They will stretch your standards, but in doing so, they will help birth the version of you that you were always meant to become. Do not run from these people. Run toward them. Iron sharpens iron, so look around your life. Who is sharpening you? Who is dulling you? Who is lifting you? And who is lowering your temperature to match their comfort? Because, no matter how powerful your mindset, if you surround yourself with the wrong voices long enough, you will start to believe them. Adversity is the training ground of the mind. There is no strength without struggle. There is no greatness without resistance, and there is no powerful, healthy mindset without a confrontation with adversity. Adversity is not the enemy, it is the refiner. It does not come to break you, it comes to build you. The strongest steel is forged in the hottest fire. Most people fear difficulty. They run from discomfort. They curse the challenge instead of embracing the lesson. But those who rise to the top, those who command their lives with clarity and courage, have learned to greet adversity not with dread, but with respect. They understand what most ignore. Adversity is the greatest teacher of all. Every trial you face is an invitation to develop inner strength. Setbacks are not punishments, they are assignments. They expose your weaknesses, not to shame you, but to strengthen you. They show you where your mindset still needs reinforcement, where your belief must be fortified, and where your character must be carved out of convenience. You will never know the full power of your mind until it is tested. A calm sea never made a skilled sailor. The storm teaches focus, the waves teach resilience, the darkness teaches vision. You will not grow by reading about power. You grow by living through what demands it. Pain introduces you to parts of yourself that comfort hides. It summons grit, discipline, patience, and faith. It forces you to choose. Will you complain, or will you conquer? Will you shrink, or will you stand? Every moment of adversity contains a question, and how you answer it will shape who you become. A healthy mindset is not one that avoids pain, it is one that transforms it. It takes the sting of rejection and turns it into determination. It takes the weight of failure and converts it into wisdom. It is not fragile, it is forged. The mind becomes powerful when it stops fearing discomfort and starts using it as fuel. You must reframe how you view difficulty. Most ask, "Why is this happening to me?" But the correct question is, "What is this preparing me for?" The mindset of the victorious is never rooted in victimhood. It is grounded in perspective. They see obstacles not as blocks, but as blueprints. Not as delays, but as development. Understand this. Adversity does not visit those going nowhere. It comes to those on a path worth pursuing. The higher your goal, the greater the resistance. Not because the universe conspires against you, but because you are being prepared to handle the weight of the prize. If your mind cannot endure hardship, it cannot hold success. There will be times when everything in you wants to quit. Those are the moments that matter most. That is where champions are born, not in the applause, but in the silence. Not when everything is working, but when everything seems lost. The decision to push forward in adversity is the defining act of mastery. So ask yourself, when pain knocks at your door, how will you answer? Will you see it as a curse, or will you recognize it as the key that unlocks the next level of your power? Because whether you rise or fall in the face of adversity is not decided by fate, it is decided by mindset. Discipline is the architect of freedom. There is a lie that weak minds love to believe, a whisper that says, freedom means doing whatever you want. But let it be known, that is not freedom, that is chaos, disguised as liberty. True freedom, the kind that creates powerful lives, unshakable minds, and lasting impact, does not come from indulgence. It comes from discipline. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you are meant to be. It is the silent architect that builds the habits, decisions, and routines that shape your destiny. Without it, potential remains unrealized, dreams remain fantasies, and the mind remains at the mercy of emotion, impulse, and distraction. A healthy mindset is not built on how you feel, it is built on what you choose to do, regardless of how you feel. The disciplined individual does not wait for motivation. They do not negotiate with laziness. They wake up when it's time, they work when it's hard, they persist when it hurts. They have trained their minds to obey direction, not desire. Most people are prisoners of their impulses. They allow moods to dictate action. They wait for the perfect conditions to begin, but those who build greatness know that discipline is the seed of progress. It creates consistency, and consistency compounds into excellence. If you seek freedom from chaos, from confusion, from regret, start by mastering the small disciplines. Discipline is not punishment, it is power under control. It is the act of putting purpose above pleasure. It is saying, not now, so you can say, well done, later. It is training your thoughts to serve your goals instead of sabotaging them. The undisciplined mind is noisy, restless, and easily shaken. But the disciplined mind moves with clarity and force. Understand this truth. Every act of discipline is an act of self-respect. When you rise early to work on your vision, when you say no to distraction, when you follow through on what you said you'd do, your mind begins to trust you. That trust becomes confidence. That confidence becomes momentum. And that momentum becomes transformation. You cannot build mental strength in theory. It must be earned through practice, through repetition, through the daily decision to keep your word, especially to yourself. The world does not reward intention. It rewards discipline. The man or woman who disciplines their body, their focus, and their emotions becomes unstoppable. Even the smallest discipline matters. How you do one thing becomes how you do everything. Whether it's making your bed, finishing your workout, resisting the junk food, or completing the task you're tempted to delay, it all adds up. Discipline is not about massive actions. It's about consistent alignment with your highest standard. There will be days when your mind screams for comfort, when distractions tempt you, when quitting feels justified. But those moments are not the enemy. They are the opportunity. They are the proving grounds. Each time you choose discipline over ease, you are casting a vote for the version of you that refuses to settle. So ask yourself now, who is designing your life, your vision or your vices? Because whether you rise to greatness or fall to regret, it will not be decided by chance, nor talent, nor intention. It will be decided by the architect you choose to serve, and that architect is discipline. Feed the mind daily, starve the doubt relentlessly. The mind is not a monument, it is a muscle, and like any muscle, it must be fed, exercised, and challenged daily to grow stronger. Most people nourish their bodies 3 times a day, but leave their minds starving for days, weeks, even years. They wonder why fear rules them, why confusion follows them, why confidence escapes them. The answer is simple. What you feed grows, and what you starve dies. You were not born with a weak mind. You were born with a blank slate, ready to be written upon. But life, through its noise and negativity, has offered you daily doses of doubt. Unless you counter that intentionally, unless you feed your mind deliberately, the weeds of worry and inferiority will overtake the garden of your greatness. Every book you read, every thought you entertain, every conversation you allow, these are meals for the mind. Are you feeding it with courage or with chaos? Are you filling it with possibility or with poison? You cannot consume failure, laced opinions, and expect to live a victorious life. You cannot binge on gossip and expect to grow in wisdom. The input becomes the outcome. Feeding the mind daily is not a luxury, it is a requirement. The mind, left unfed, turns on itself. It will resurrect old insecurities, amplify minor fears, and fabricate future disasters. But when you fuel it with truth, vision, purpose, and power, when you consume ideas that stretch and sharpen, you give yourself the most important nourishment of all, clarity. Doubt is cunning. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It slips in through silence, through idleness, through mental hunger. It thrives in the gaps between intention and execution. That is why you must starve it. Starve it of attention, starve it of repetition. Starve it by crowding it out with something stronger, certainty born of consistent growth. You do not need to remove all fear to move forward. You need only stop feeding it. Every time you replay a failure, you feed it. Every time you give voice to what if, you feed it. But when you speak your goals aloud, when you immerse your mind in the language of winners, when you turn your attention to what is possible rather than what is painful, doubt shrinks. Doubt suffocates in the presence of discipline and direction. Make it a daily ritual, not when you feel like it, not when time allows. Every day, rain or shine, success or setback, pour strength into your mind. Read pages that demand your focus. Write words that refine your vision. Listen to voices that challenge your excuses. Expose yourself to ideas that make small thinking impossible. Feed the mind like your life depends on it, because it does. People treat the mind like a light switch. Flip it on when needed, shut it down when done. But the mind does not operate in isolated moments. It is always working, always absorbing, always reinforcing a belief system. If you are not feeding it with intention, it will default to fear. It will replay the past instead of creating the future, and left unchecked, it will build a life you never chose, only inherited. Growth is not an event, it is a discipline. A mental athlete trains daily. They do not wait until the competition to strengthen the mind. They prepare before the storm comes, so they are unshaken when it arrives. What you feed yourself in private determines how powerfully you show up in public. And those who win the internal war quietly, consistently, are the ones who write history. So ask yourself with honesty, what are you feeding your mind? Is it a diet of vision or a diet of fear? Are you nourishing belief or bloating on doubt? Because your mind is becoming whatever you serve it, and whether it becomes a weapon or a weakness will depend on what you feed, and what you refuse to. So I ask you now, are you ready to build a mindset forged in fire and destined for greatness? Will you plant new seeds, speak new truths, and walk like the architect of your fate? Because the moment you decide, truly decide, to build a healthy mindset, the world will begin to shift. Not because it changed, but because you did. The world doesn't need more doubters. It needs builders, builders of vision, builders of courage, builders of the mind. The time is now. The power is yours. Build it.